Welcome. This lesson is from Physiology and Biochemistry paper of semester 5 students. This is a continuation part of respiration topic. In the previous lesson, I have covered about the meaning and definition of respiration, types of respiration, human respiratory system, stages in respiration, pulmonary ventilation, gaseous exchange, transport of gases, transport of oxygen, and oxygen dissociation curve, as well as the factors influencing the oxygen dissociation curve. From this lesson, the learners will be able to understand transport of carbon dioxide, chloride shift, regulation of respiration, both the nervous regulation as well as the chemical regulation. So now let us see about transport of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is transported in the blood in three forms. One is in dissolved form, second is by the formation of carbamino compounds, and third is in the form of bicarbonate ions. First, let us see about dissolved form. Carbon dioxide is highly soluble in water, that is 24 times more than oxygen. So about 7% of carbon dioxide is transported in dissolved form in plasma. And next is the formation of carbamino compounds. About 23% of carbon dioxide is transported in the form of carbamino compounds. Carbon dioxide, it reversibly reacts with the hemoglobin and forms carbamino compounds. So these compounds, that is by the addition of carbon dioxide to the hemoglobin molecule, will decrease the affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen. So because of the binding of carbon dioxide, the decrease in the affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen is called carbamino effect. And about 70% of the carbon dioxide is transported in the bicarbonate ions. So majority of CO2 is transported by the blood, through the blood in the form of bicarbonate ions. This image shows how the CO2 is transported in three forms. We can see here these are the cells in peripheral tissues. So these tissues have liberated carbon dioxide, and the liberated carbon dioxide it enters into the blood, and blood consists of the plasma. This is a venous blood. So through the plasma in the blood, about 7% of oxygen is being carried. About 7% of oxygen is being carried with the help of this dissolved form. And here we can see the carbon dioxide, it reacts with the hemoglobin and forms the carbamino compounds, and 23% of the carbon dioxide is transported in the form of carbamino compounds. And the third form is the formation of bicarbonate ion. So carbon dioxide in the red blood cell, it reacts with the water present in the red blood cell in the presence of carbonic anhydrase enzyme and forms a carbonic acid. This carbonic acid will soon dissociate into bicarbonate ion as well as H plus ion. So this in the form of this bicarbonate ion, the carbon dioxide, it leaves the red blood cell and enters the plasma and is carried in the blood, and the percentage is about 70%. Now let us study about chloride shift or Hamburger phenomenon. Chloride shift is a basic mechanism which facilitates the transport of carbon dioxide in the form of bicarbonate ions in the blood. Blood from the tissues diffuses into the plasma. Blood from the tissues diffuses into the plasma, the carbon dioxide, then it will enter into the red blood corpuscles, RBC. So the red blood corpuscles consisting of the carbon dioxide, they will be swelling, and they soon they appear as reddish blue in color. So the venous blood, the RBC in the venous blood are larger than the RBC in the arterial blood. So the carbon dioxide present in the RBC reacts with the water present in the RBC in the presence of carbonic anhydrase enzyme and forms carbonic acid. So this carbonic acid soon dissociates to form bicarbonate ion and H plus ions. So this ions, they are the bicarbonate ions. As soon as the bicarbonate ions concentration increases in the RBC, they are liberated out into the plasma. So these bicarbonate ions are transferred, the carbon dioxide is transferred in the form of the bicarbonate ions. But as the bicarbonate ions are moving out of the RBC, to maintain the electric balance, the chloride ions present in the plasma move into the RBC. So we can say that exchange of these ions takes place. From the RBC to the plasma, bicarbonate ions move from RBC to plasma. To maintain the balance, chloride ions from the plasma move into RBC. So this phenomenon is called as chloride shift. The process in which bicarbonate and chloride ions are exchanged between RBC and plasma is called chloride shift. So later on, this bicarbonate ion, again it will fuse with the H plus and forms the bicarbonate, and the carbon dioxide released is transported to the alveoli which are present in the lung. The chloride shift has been given by Hamburger, hence this phenomenon is also called as Hamburger phenomenon. The carbonic acid dissociation increases the acidity of the blood and thereby decreases the pH. Due to this, these protons, they unite with the oxyhemoglobin in order to release the bound carbon dioxide, thereby reducing the acidity of the blood. So this buffering capacity allows the bicarbonate ions to move through the blood in that high proportion. The amount of carbon dioxide transported by the blood is also influenced by partial pressure of oxygen. When the partial pressure of oxygen of blood decreases, the amount of dissolved carbon dioxide increases. At any partial pressure of carbon dioxide, the greater the concentration of deoxyhemoglobin, the higher is the concentration of the carbon dioxide in the blood. So this is called as Haldane effect. Now let us see about regulation of respiration. Respiratory control has both involuntary and voluntary components. The involuntary centers of the brain regulate the activity of respiratory muscles. The voluntary control of respiration reflects activity in the cerebral cortex. This activity affects the output of either the respiratory centers in the medulla oblongata and pons or motor neurons in the spinal cord, which control the respiratory muscles. Involuntary respiration is regulated by two mechanisms, neural and chemical. Nervous mechanism involves respiratory centers, afferent and efferent nerves. What are respiratory centers? Respiratory centers are a series of paired autonomic nuclei, that is collection of neurons located bilaterally in the reticular formation of brainstem. These respiratory centers consist of medullary rhythmicity and the pontine respiratory center. These centers cooperate to regulate the rate and depth of breathing as an involuntary unconscious activity in response to the physiological needs for oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange and for blood acid base balance. Now let us see about medullary respiratory center. Medullary respiratory center consists of a collection of neurons in the reticular formation within the medulla oblongata. This medullary respiratory center is involved in establishing or modifying pattern of breathing. This center has two groups of neurons, namely DRG and VRG. DRG stands for dorsal respiratory group. This dorsal respiratory group was formerly called as inspiratory area. So this dorsal respiratory group consists of inspiratory neurons bilaterally in the medulla. This DRG controls the basic rhythm of breathing by triggering inspiratory impulses and sets eupnea. Eupnea is quiet breathing or resting respiratory rate of 12 to 15 breaths per minute. This DRG center's neurons control lower motor neurons innervating external intercostal muscles and the diaphragm. The activity of this DRG increases the activity of the intercostal muscles and diaphragm, thereby inhalation occurs. The activity in the dorsal respiratory group increases over a period of 2 seconds. This stimulates the intercostal muscles and diaphragm and then that leads to inhalation. Later on, the DRG becomes inactive and the intercostal muscles and the diaphragm muscles of the diaphragm relax, and that leads to passive exhalation. Now let us see about ventral respiratory group. This ventral respiratory group was formerly called as expiratory area. So this ventral respiratory group, it functions only during forced breathing. VRT has an expiratory center consisting of neurons that innervate lower motor neurons controlling accessory respiratory muscles which are involved in active exhalation. VRT's inspiratory center contains neurons involved in maximal inhalation. Now, let us see about generation of respiratory rhythm. Until recently, it was believed that the basic respiratory rhythm was generated by DRT. But now it is believed that a region which lies in the pre-Böttinger complex, which is located near the upper end of the medullary respiratory center, generates the respiratory rhythm. The neurons which are present in this region display pacemaker action, showing or undergoing self-induced action potential similar to the sino-auricular node in the heart. So the synaptic potentials from this center will stimulate the DRG to show the inspiration. Now let us see the respiratory centers of Pons. Pons has two respiratory centers called apneustic center and pneumotaxic center. Apneustic center, it promotes the inhalation by stimulating the DRG, dorsal respiratory group. So it functions during the forced breathing. During forced breathing, apneustic centers adjust the degree of stimulation in response to sensory information from vagus nerve concerning the amount of lung inflation. And next is the pneumotaxic center. Pneumotaxic center inhibits the apneustic centers and promote passive or active exhalation. An increase in the pneumotaxic output, it increases the pace of respiration, that is the speed of respiration, by shortening the duration of each inhalation, while a decrease in the pneumotaxic output, it slows the respiratory pace, but it increases the depth of respiration. These neurons receive input from higher brain centers and peripheral receptors, and their output fine-tunes the breathing rhythm during activities like sleeping, speaking, or exercising. So this image shows the respiratory centers in the brainstem. This is a respiratory center, and it is of two types: Pons respiratory center and medullary respiratory center. This is the pons and this is the medulla. Pons has two centers, namely pneumotaxic center, and this is the apneustic center. And in the medullary respiratory center, we can see the pre-Böttinger complex, VRG group, and this is VRG, ventral respiratory group, and dorsal respiratory group. And this image shows the respiratory centers and their action. So here we can see this is the pons, pneumatic center, pneumotaxic center and apneustic center. which form the pontine respiratory group PRG. And this is a ventral respiratory group and dorsal respiratory group which are present in the medulla. The dorsal respiratory group neurons, they innervate the lower motor neurons, which innervate the external intercostal muscles as well as the diaphragm. So they promote or they stimulate the inspiration. And here the ventral VRG group, it innervates accessory respiratory muscles as well as intercostal muscles, and they take part in exhalation. So these PRG, both these coordinate together and they maintain the rhythm of the breathing. Now let us see about chemical regulation of respiration. The magnitude of ventilation, that is breathing, is adjusted in response to three chemical factors. These chemical factors include partial pressure of oxygen, partial pressure of carbon dioxide, and H plus ion concentration. The changes in these factors are recognized by chemoreceptors, and these chemoreceptors send signals to the respiratory centers to respond. Chemoreceptors are present in brain and on carotid artery and aortic arch. Based on their presence, the chemoreceptors are of two types: central chemoreceptors, which are located on the brain, and the peripheral chemoreceptors are located on the aortic arch and carotid artery. Now let us see about central chemoreceptors. Central chemoreceptors, these are the neurons located on the ventrolateral surface of the medulla oblongata in a region called chemosensitive area. From this area, the 9th and 10th cranial nerves leave the brain. So these receptors are sensitive to pH of the cerebrospinal fluid present in the blood. As the partial pressure of carbon dioxide increases, the pH decreases and the chemoreceptors are excited and stimulate the dorsal respiratory group neurons in medulla. With this, breathing or ventilation is increased to reduce the hydrogen ion concentration and carbon dioxide in blood. This image shows the stimulation of central chemoreceptors by the H plus ions generated from carbon dioxide. The H plus ions generated in the cerebrospinal fluid play an important role in the process of ventilation. The H plus ions in the capillaries, they cannot cross into the cerebrospinal fluid as the blood-brain barrier is impermeable to the H plus ions. Carbon dioxide can cross the blood-brain barrier and it enters the cerebrospinal fluid and reacts with the water and forms a carbonic acid in the presence of carbonic anhydrase enzyme. Later, this carbonic acid dissociates to bicarbonate ions and H plus ions. These H plus ions stimulate the central chemoreceptors, which in turn they are responsible for the ventilation, and they reflect the arterial partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Now, peripheral chemoreceptors. Peripheral chemoreceptors are located in the carotid bodies of the carotid arteries, and the aortic bodies are located on the aortic arch. The glossopharyngeal nerve, that is the ninth cranial nerve, pass information from carotid bodies, and the vagus nerve, that is the cranial nerve 10, monitors chemoreceptors. The stimulus for chemoreceptors is pH. The main reason for decrease in pH is an increase in the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. It also responds to partial pressure of oxygen, but only when it drops to 60 mm of Hg. So this image shows the peripheral receptors present in the various regions. So this is a peripheral receptor present in the brain. It is a central chemoreceptor, and this is a carotid body. Here lies a carotid body, and here the aortic bodies are present in the aortic arch. This is a location. So this is the sensory nerve fiber in cranial nerve 9, and this is the cranial nerve 10. Arterial partial pressure is monitored by peripheral chemoreceptors. Stimulation of these chemoreceptors increases the pace and depth of respiration. Under normal conditions, the partial pressure of oxygen will not show, or it shows a little effect on the peripheral chemoreceptors. But when the partial pressure drops to about 40%, that is about 60 mm of Hg, then only the rate of respiration increases to 60 to 70%. But when the partial pressure of carbon dioxide drops at about 10%, then the rate of respiration is doubled. Hence, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is the main in regulating the respiration. Hypercapnia is the increase in the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. When the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is increased in the arterial blood, the peripheral chemoreceptors are stimulated. Then this arises in the same time, the central chemoreceptors are also stimulated. A rise in the arterial partial pressure of the carbon dioxide when increases, it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and CO2 pressure increases in the cerebrospinal fluid, and this causes decrease in the pH in the cerebrospinal fluid. So these receptors, chemoreceptors, then they stimulate the nerves. They produce the afferent impulses, and these afferent impulses stimulate the medullary respiratory center, and this medullary respiratory center then causes the respiratory muscles to act rapidly, and rapid ventilation occurs. The breathing rate increases, the breathing speed and depth of the respiration increases. With this, more amount of the carbon dioxide is exhaled out from the body. Because more air moves into and out of the alveoli, the carbon dioxide concentration in the alveoli is reduced. Therefore, the blood from the alveoli capillaries diffusion is increased. Thus, the homeostasis is restored. If the rate and depth of respiration exceeds the normal oxygen delivery and carbon dioxide removal, that condition is called as hyperventilation. Hyperventilation leads to hypocapnia. When the pCO2 level drops less than the normal level, then the chemoreceptor activity is reduced and respiratory rate falls. When the pCO2 retains to its normal position, then the homeostasis is restored. This image this slide shows the influence of chemical receptors on respiration. The first chemical factor, that is the partial pressure of oxygen in the arterial blood, when it is lowered, it stimulates the peripheral chemoreceptors. Only when the arterial PO2 has fallen to the below 60 mmHg. So below 60 is life-threatening. It is an emergency mechanism. And this lower PO2, it affects the central receptors directly, depresses them and the respiratory center itself when it is less than 60 mmHg. And then the pCO2, when it is increased in the arterial blood, then it weakly stimulates the peripheral chemoreceptors. But the central chemoreceptors are strongly stimulated. This is the dominant control of ventilation. When the pCO2 level is greater than 70 to 80 mmHg, this directly depresses the respiratory center and central chemoreceptors. And the third is the H plus ion concentration. When this increases in the arterial blood, it stimulates the peripheral receptors, and this is important in acid-base balance. And the increase in hydrogen ion concentration does not affect the central chemoreceptors, and they cannot penetrate the blood-brain barrier. Now, voluntary control of respiration. Conscious centers in the cerebral cortex permit voluntary control of ventilation by interacting with and overriding the autonomic centers in the medullary rhythmicity area. This is essential in swimming, speaking and singing, which are precisely timed. However, they cannot be overridden by the autonomic centers. The chemoreceptor reflexes are powerful in stimulating respiration and cannot be consciously suppressed. For example, one cannot hold the breath until he turns blue. When the carbon dioxide concentration increases over critical levels, one is supposed to forced breathe. Emotional states also can affect the respiration. The sympathetic nervous system activation causes bronchodilation and increases the respiration rate. Parasympathetic nervous system activation decreases the respiratory rate. Thank you.